Here we are. Okay, here we go. This is position 1. This is a 6-year term. And our candidates here, Nikki Lockwood and Katey Treloar. And her name is spelled Treloar, just so you know that, but that's okay. I'm going to ask the same question I started with for our first 2 candidates, and I'll start with Katey. It's been a big year in Spokane Public Schools, a lot of issues. What do you think is the top priority facing this district right now?
Well, I think budget is obviously what's going to drive everything that happens in our school district. As a teacher, I know that the #1 success indicator for our students is low class size. So I think when we get our budget under control, we really have to work at reducing class size in intermediate, middle school, high school, and in our special ed programs.
I agree that budget is the biggest priority. I've attended 3 budget cycles over the last 3 years, being involved with district-wide committees. I've also been involved with some of the community voice around discipline reform, and so I've seen the impacts of inadequate resources. So getting that budget, back up to what our community really wants for our future generation is important for all of us, I believe.
Nikki, do you support asking voters for a levy, and when would you like to do that, if so?
I do support a levy. I think we need to, like the previous school board candidate said, we need to look at the funding from every source, state, federal, and local, but we've had really good support in the past, and so I think, again, it's a priority for our community to have, high quality education and to pay our teachers a competitive salary. So I support that. I think waiting until November, there's going to be a lot on the November ballot. So if we can get our ducks in a row and communicate to the community what we would be spending those levy dollars on, I see us doing that in April, possibly.
Nikki. All right. Katey.
So as a teacher and a voter, I've always supported levies, and I will continue to support levies. I think what we should watch Meade, because they're putting their levy on this ballot November 5th, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then in general, we need to think about the past. And so for the last 25 plus years, our levies have passed with huge success rates. And that is due in part to the relationship of confidence that our school board has with our voters. And right now that relationship doesn't exist. I've been out doorbelling and talking to people, and they're very upset at the fiscal irresponsibility that the district has shown. So I think we really need to work on regaining that confidence and being very transparent about what we'll be spending that money on.
Just want to, on the finance picture here, if I could get quick answers from both of you. If either of you were presented with an employee contract, which the administration told you would result in lost jobs as a result of increased wages, et cetera, would you be open to approving that? Well, if an employee contract comes up, the administration, say the last time, said, if you approve this, there will be lost jobs. Right. If that were to happen again, would you be open to approving a contract that would result in higher wages but lost jobs?
Well, I think, we, for the last several years prior to maybe 2016, we were struggling to find teachers to provide substitute teachers and teachers in the classroom because we didn't have competitive wages. And so if we're going to attract and retain really good teachers, we need to be in a position to be competitive with other districts. And that might mean loss of jobs for some.
Nikki?
I agree that we need competitive wages. I think that's important for high quality education. I think full staffing is a priority. Yeah, so I'm going to say no.
Would you be willing to?
I think full staffing is a priority. We need all the employees to make our schools safe and high quality.
Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, next question deals with school security, a very big topic, and the question is a simple one. Katey, you'll go first. What's your position on arming professionals in our schools?
I don't support arming any district employee. I do support a relationship with our local police department. So right now, the Safe Haven report that was released and districts across our state all have some sort of relationship with their local police department. Spokane Public Schools does not. So I think it would be beneficial to look at what that could look like. Contracting with the local police department to hire police officers that would live in our schools. And I think those people, those police officers that are in our schools, 99% of their time would be spent creating relationships with students, building the bridge between police officers and at-risk students. That 1% of the time is adding an extra layer of security. So I think if you look at 2 days ago, a middle school called in Spokane Police Department, and they arrested 2 students. So when they call the police department, we don't know who's going to show up. We don't have relationships with any of those officers. If they are contracted by our school district and living in our school, we know who's going to show up. We know that those police officers have trauma training and understand policy and procedure around discipline. So I think we definitely need to look at a relationship with our police department.
So the Safe Havens report said that Spokane Public Schools currently has a really good relationship with the Spokane Police Department. So I disagree with the need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to improve that relationship. I believe that when we need the police, they will respond. I don't support arming CROs is our current school policing model for a lot of reasons. I've been working with a coalition of community members for the past 3 years on making better policing policy for our schools. So I've worked on this policy. So I have a lot of experience with this. So let me tell you a few things. First, it's expensive, and our district, with improved training and restorative practice training, we have brought, and with community looking at the data regularly, we have brought our student arrests from 800 to like less than 100 in 4 years. So that's amazing. That's really awesome. Our CROs are working more relationally now and in restoratively. So I applaud the district for doing that work. Additionally, school policing impacts students of color and students with special needs the most. That's who gets referred to for arrests more than other students. And I have a daughter with autism, and she's biracial, so that's her. I'm not willing to throw certain kids, under the bus to have a perception of school safety. Additionally, so we need to keep working on that disproportionality, and we are. The work continues. And then thirdly, having guns in schools or having policing in schools is not evidence-based to improve safety. They've done a congressional nonpartisan report on it, and it's inconclusive. We do know, though, with lots of local data and national data, that policing disproportionately impacts students of color and students with special needs. So there are a lot of evidence-based practices to prevent school violence, and if we had more time, I would love to talk about those, because that's something I've been working on for the last 3 years.
Nikki, is the district doing enough to support diversity and deal with racial inequities in discipline?
I think with the past 3 years of having this relationship with the Every Student Counts Alliance within the superintendent's work group, our discipline practices have started to change. We have been looking at the data regularly for 3 years, and we see that the disproportions for students of color, students with disabilities continues. So although the rates have come down, the numbers look better, that disproportion remains. So I think more work needs to be done, and that's part of the reason I'm running for school board. We need more representation on the school board.
And Katey, quickly.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Is the district doing enough to support diversity and deal with racial inequity?
Our district is doing a very good job reaching out to the community and bringing families into our schools, and I think we need to continue to do that. I was just speaking with someone about a grant that Bemis Elementary School got, and it is a program where they invite families in, and the families get fed. The children get academic tutoring. There is a stipend. The families are getting paid to come in, and then those parents are also getting support for parenting techniques. And so I think that's a really good example of involving our community in schools and doing a multi-generational approach to kind of breaking that cycle.
All right, thank you. And now it's time for some audience questions, if we have any, right here.
Yes. Hi there. Hello to you both. My name is Hillary Kozel, and we do have a very diverse student population, and I think our school board should reflect that as well. This is kind of piggybacking off of your question that you just asked. I'm just wondering if you could both speak to your experience that would allow us to understand your experience in diversity to represent the board. Thank you.
Well, I can start. I am a first-generation college graduate from my Mexican-American family, so I have that background that I bring, and we don't have a leader in this community that's been elected from my demographic. I also have a daughter with autism and a daughter who's neurotypical, so they're both really smart girls, but we've had challenges, and so I do have a lot of personal endorsements from the disability community as well as leaders from communities of color. So I bring those backgrounds. I also, my family's lived all over this town. I'm lucky enough to have a beautiful home by Manitou Park. I have family members over in the Northeast neighborhood, and because of my community organizing, I've organized with people from a variety of backgrounds and socioeconomic strata of our community. So, as an organizer, I hold those relationships important and want to be accountable to all. Thank you.
I think when we talk about diversity and equity, we need to be looking at trauma. We need to look at poverty. We need to look at hunger. And so I taught 8 years, and then I worked to develop and implement a nonprofit program called Bite to Go, which feeds hungry kids over the weekend. And kids that are hungry are 150% more likely to be aggressive, to be non-compliant. And so if we can get these kids fed before they, over the weekend, we get back Friday in our education because they're not worried about where they're going to get food for the weekend. And then we get back Monday because they come to school and they're ready to learn. So Bite to Go is now in every elementary, middle school, and high school in Spokane Public Schools. It feeds almost 3,500 students every weekend. And I think that is bringing an equity piece to our schools.
Great. Another question right over here.
Hi, my name is Tara Lee. Mass shootings account for less than 0.5% of gun deaths in the U.S., and yet guns are the second leading cause of death for Americans under the age of 18. This indicates that the vast majority of children who are killed by guns in this country are killed outside of school. In fact, evidence shows that children are safer in school than they are at home. The focus on armed personnel, active shooter drills, bulletproof backpacks seems to do our children more harm than good. What evidence-based practices would you support to truly protect Spokane's children and set up a positive atmosphere in the school and not cause so much anxiety?
I think I was first. Okay. We need to, you're right when you say that these drills are causing trauma. Our kids, that's not how they should be spending their days. We need to be looking at bringing in mental health counselors. We need to get the state to, right now, the state funds 0 mental health professionals for our schools. So all of that money comes from local levies. We need to get the state to understand what it means to fully fund education. And right now, that means bringing in mental health providers, that means nurses and more counselors. And we need to bring those resources in so that we can help our kids, first of all, dealing with traumas that they're bringing from home, and then avoiding that secondary trauma when they're at school and having to face these horrific things that they're seeing on the news.
Yeah, I do agree with more of that type of personnel, mental health therapists and nurses. Social workers are also somebody that we don't, or is a profession that we don't use in our public schools. It would be nice to get funding for those. Those are evidence-based supports for classrooms, in addition to positive school climate being the #1 thing. So the more that we can have staff and students feeling safe and valued and acknowledged to, when they see something, to say something. So that's on social media, that's in the locker room, that's, wherever students are. When they see something and say something, then we're all safer. So it really takes a partnership between, the staff and the CROs and local law enforcement and just the folks in our schools, the kids. But positive school climate, so we have to do as much as we can to maintain that. Behavioral management is a big area, because right now when we think about safety, the more prevalent issues, our teachers are getting injured. And especially with the lower staff size, that's what I'm worried about. And so we need to think about what's actually happening in our school district. Teachers are getting injured. We know that in our community there's a high rate of, and an increasing rate of teen attempts at suicide, and it just breaks my heart. So what can we do as a community to have more safe environments? Definitely.
All right, thank you. That's it for audience questions. I'm sorry, we're moving on to everybody's favorite moment, the quiz. You two ready? Okay, question 1. Remember, you have to ring the bell, and whoever rings the bell gets the answer.
Okay.
Gary Dahl, the inventor of the pet rock, one of the biggest fads of the 1970s, graduated from which Spokane high school?
Oh, God. I don't know.
Yes.
North Central.
Oh, I'm sorry, no.
Lewis and Clark.
No.
Shadle.
Rogers High School. Not fans of the pet rock here. Question 2. In 2008, the boys cross-country team from this high school won a national championship.
What year?
2008.
Oh, I'm going to say LC.
Nikki, no.
Shadle.
No. North Central.
They
Classic.
have a good cross-country team. I forgot about that.
All right, question 3. With only 342 students, what is the smallest elementary school in the district? Katey.
Wilson.
No?
Oh, elementary school.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
I know these are tough.
All right, smallest.
342 students.
I don't know.
Any guesses from the moderators up there? Indian Trail, Indian Trail.
Really?
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right, next question. What school, besides Lewis and Clark, is named for a famous explorer?
Sacagawea.
No.
That's
a good guess. Go ahead.
Am I right? I'm right. I got that one.
Jim? Your moderator? Okay.
And that's why you need me.
I think